look even more ghostly. Yeah, I got 45 windows open. Holy buckets.
Come on! That's just for Kelly. I still can't dance, Kelly! She ain't even listening to us, man. She's in a women's conference. But anyways, I'm referring to Kelly Robinson of Pan and Nose. She was teasing me earlier. She's like, Ira, every time you turn that music on, you say, come on! I'm like, no, can't help myself. So welcome, everybody. This is something, it's a one-off. It's not a series. We're just doing a live. I was talking to my friend Nick yesterday, and we were talking about some workflow process changes that have happened due to COVID. And we thought, man, that would make kind of a fun show to talk about. And so here we invited Liz and Damon, and we actually invited Adam, who is late to the party. He's a Vikings fan, so that's par for the course. He'll probably join us eventually. But anyways, we're going to talk about it from different angles. Each of us are in different industries, and we have different business experience. But COVID obviously is not like a short-term thing. It's been prolonged. 8 months in. Can you believe it's been 8 months? So there's a lot of stuff going on that's affecting you right now. The thing that I think is interesting, and this is where it's going to be a little bit of our best guesses, what's going to happen when it's over? It will eventually be done, right? So what's going to happen in business? What changes, what I call disruptors, that have caused these changes to happen in the interim? What will stick after? So I want to talk about that. The stuff that's changed in the hiring process, in managing employees. Nick, you're a facilities manager, so running facilities. Damon in sales, what's changed? You know, e-commerce, there's vendor management, there's inventory management. I mean, this is the whole gamut. And then, of course, Liz is our health expert. So me sitting at my desk for, 15 hours a day, that's probably not good. So there's stress and anxiety and health and all that stuff. So we're going to get into it. And then, of course, there's the audience. So welcome. I don't even have it up. I don't know how many people are watching right now. I'll bring that up in a second. But we're coming to you live from Facebook, from YouTube, and LinkedIn. So welcome. Wherever you're from, drop us a hello. Let us know where you're from. Like Dixie here is from Alaska. And we need remote opportunities in Alaska. I will speak to that in a minute because there are a lot of opportunities out there. In fact, I just put up a couple, I think 2 this week on projecthelpyougrow.com. If you're looking, you can find them there. And then hello from San Francisco. Hello, Dolores. I am from the Bay Area, but now I come to you from Smele, as I call it, Southern California. So welcome, guys. So first of all, Liz, let's do this because probably a lot of people watching don't know who you are, right? No offense, but we run in different circles. So tell us, 60 seconds, give us a 60-second intro, and then we'll do the same for Nick and for Damon.
Well, obviously I'm Liz. I'm a wellness coach based in London, so I'm the one that needs a visa just to come on and be here and visiting, particularly nowadays. I think this is the only way I can get to the US. But I've been in health and fitness for 10 years as a professional, but obviously over 20 years experience. And I provide coaching, personal training and classes. So everything to do with health, well-being. I've worked in different gyms, run different gyms, massive fitness background. So I think that's less than 60 seconds, hopefully.
So I knew all that, right? Obviously. Yeah. What I didn't know, which I do want to talk about, you were a fencer, on guard. Yeah. And you guys qualified for the Olympics, which I think is amazing. So when you say you're into fitness, it's, I think, more than that. You're Olympic. No, you didn't actually go to the Olympics, right? But you qualified for the Olympics. So
yeah, because basically, ever since I could walk, I played sports. So this is my big background. And of course, as a teen, I got into fencing and hockey quite seriously. Got selected for my local hockey club, but I was on the fencing team. And I had to choose. So I went with the fencing and we went to the World Championships. And at the World Championships, if in the teams you come in the top 8, you qualify for the Olympics. And so we qualified because we came 7th. And sadly, the women's sabre didn't come in until the year following. So it was, in 2000, there was no women's sabre that came in 2004. but it's still an absolute pleasure. Then, of course, when I hit my 20s, I joined the military. And, so I've been to Sandhurst. And then, and then, of course, doing the fitness. Yeah, sport and fitness is me. It is my life.
I do. There you go. So I didn't know any of that. I didn't know any of that until we're in this thing called MyVab together.
Yeah.
You did a host. I talked about Kelly Robinson earlier. Yeah. She's the founder of that, but she does this My Story, and your My Story, like I became your friend, even though you couldn't hear me, I could hear you. And I'm like, that lady is awesome. So anyways.
Thanks.
MyVab brought us together.
Yeah.
Nick Dorsey, we'll bring you in next, my friend. You are a Raider-loving person, a former Seahawks fan, which Damon is laughing because he knew I was going to do that to you. But anyways, you're living in Arizona. You're a facilities manager, director level, right? So tell us about yourself. And I just want to let everybody know, as you're listening to this, my buddy Nick is available for hire. So if you hear something you like and you want to interview Nick, by all means, he's available. Open to network or open to work.
Open to network.
Right? So anyways, Mr. Nick, 60 seconds or so.
All right. Thanks, Ira. I'm a facility manager / director level. I really work on culture building, department building, and building out my teams and building processes with preventative maintenance towards machinery and efficiencies on the floor to make the company's systems roll a lot smoother and obviously save a lot of money. So producing a lot of ROIs with this. So that's a big part of me. I love building my teams, building culture and building that relationship on, at work and outside of work even is huge. So I feel that way, and vendor relations is huge. We talked about that on MyVab today. Somebody brought up, doing with vendor relations and everything. Just that first, just getting to know somebody personally. That's what I do. I want to get to know them personal and talk about their stuff because that's what builds a general relationship, and you can make a lot of business out of that. So that's me in a nutshell, pretty quick.
Cool, 100%. And Mr. Damon. Now, Damon and we're business partners. We work together. I talk to Damon every single day. Even on the weekends, I talk to Damon. Why? Because we're both crazy and we never stop working. But we work together. Exit Your Way. Exit Your Way, we do a couple different things. We help business owners that are looking to get more out of their business, like sales acceleration, or maybe they need to step up their e-commerce game. There's all kinds of different things that we do. Certified valuations for people who need it on a year in or year out basis, or maybe they're looking to sell and they want to know what their business is worth. We do all of that, but we help you get more while you run your business. But we also, our main thing is we help people sell businesses, but we're not just a broker. We don't just slap a price and say for sale and try to find a buyer. We actually roll up our sleeves and we get involved with you. And we have this process called the Exit Your Way process, where we help to increase the value so that when you do sell, you're more likely to get 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times more than you would have got without us, because we're going to help make the business look good for the buyers. We know what to do to make that business look good and attractive for buyers. So anyways, all that by way of introduction. Mr. Damon, I probably stole all your thunder, but that's okay. You're used to it. 60 seconds or so. And he also is a Raiders fan. He just doesn't know it.
Yeah, I must be a closet Raiders fan. That's all I say. If I am. But yeah, Exit Your Way. That's the main thing is that when you really look at what we do is we are kind of the anti business brokers of the world. And it starts from when we started doing this, is really we're not there just to try to get a sale done. We're trying to help the owner meet their goals, and oftentimes they can't sell their business or it's not worth enough money. And we take care of that problem first before we do sell them. We roll up our sleeves. We're business operators, and we help them get it better and make it look good for the buyer. Simple as that.
100%. And
there's Adam.
It's funny that people don't necessarily understand that when they consider exit strategies, but the company that you choose to help sell your business will determine a lot of cases if you even sell it at all. Because we know that 80% of businesses that try to sell don't even sell. It's a sad stat, but it's a true stat. So there's a lot to consider when you're considering your quote unquote broker. We say, don't pick a broker, pick us instead. Exit your way. And Damon's been doing this a long time. He's really good at it. So, and then our partner Andrew Cross, of course, they own the company. The slacker of this group is obviously Adam.
Not me. That's good.
Right. That's why I invited Adam to, elevate Damon's status.
Whatever I can do for someone in the beautiful state of Washington where they don't pay any income tax.
Now, if you are a candy corn fan, then Adam is your guy. Also, he's probably the most serious one in the room because he's a CFO. So he deals with money. Yeah. And you got to be serious. You can't goof around. Although he is a Vikings fan living in Virginia, so I like to tease him. I don't understand it.
That's at least I have a few hairs.
He has more hair than me. I don't understand. Okay, so I'm trying to figure this out. What confuses me more, the fact that you like candy corn, or that you root for the Vikings in Virginia? But I will say this, in full disclosure, and you know me, I have to be honest here. My kids heard me say that I hate candy corn, and they're like, Dad, you got to try this pumpkin one. And I'm like, pumpkin candy corn? Nah. But I did try one because I'm brave. There was like something in the center of it, though. It was like a little something, and that made a big difference. You know what I'm talking about? They're orange. They got little cream.
The mellow cream pumpkins.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, Adam knows. So those are good. I did like those.
There's actually 12 varieties of candy corn, and
oh man,
those are completely separate. So because that isn't actually candy corn. So there's celebration corn, where you can get your 4th of July version. They have caramel apple. So they've got a few different varieties for the people that don't like that traditional orange, yellow, and white candy corn.
I would rather eat a Tootsie Roll. Or Smarties and Tootsie Rolls, like the very bottom of the Halloween bag for me, like in the least, it would be Smarties, Tootsie Rolls, candy corn.
Well, that's when I went out to do networking events in the past. I would have a bowl of Smarties and a bowl of Dum Dums, and ask people if they wanted to be a Smartie or a Dum Dum.
Oh, I think Dum Dum. You are what you eat, Dum Dum.
So would it be bad timing to say, since I cut out candy and sugar for the last month, I've lost 16 pounds? Is that a bad thing to bring up right now?
That's what it'll do. We don't have it in our house either.
Good job. I have not done that. I think I've gained all 16 of your pounds.
I still got about 16 more to go. I got the COVID 30.
Two big slices of banana nut bread with butterscotch chips in them right before I came on the show. So there you go. All right, Adam, we're going to do 60 seconds. Just tell people he's a CFO, fractional CFO, which is kind of cool. We'll get into fractional work a little bit later in the conversation, but just explain in 60 seconds or so a little bit so our audience knows who you are and what you do.
Okay. Yeah. So I am CFO Adam. You can find me with that hashtag anywhere on LinkedIn. I'm a fractional CFO for medical practices primarily. So I come in, work with doctors, dentists, chiropractors, physical therapists, and make them more money. So whether that's top line, bottom line, or everything in between. And, if they are at the point where they want to, to move on to something bigger, something better, then they go over and they talk to Damon to sell their practice. But most of the doctors and physicians that I work with, they want to be independent. They worked for a hospital, they worked for a big clinic, and they want to be in charge of themselves. So then they create their own practice generally, or they'll buy into one that's already formed. And I just come in and help them so that, one, they can get all the student loans paid off, because they usually come out of med school with a couple $100,000 of those. And then from there, just build their wealth and pay themselves more without necessarily having to pay more taxes.
Perfect. That's all good. That's all good stuff. In fact, I spent like an hour on the phone with my accountant earlier today, and we were doing some of that stuff. And I like, do I get to spend any money right now? Because I need a teleprompter and I need a lapel mic for a video I'm shooting next Thursday down in San Diego. And he goes, "Oh yeah, you could spend quite a bit of money actually, and you need to." And I'm like, "Awesome, like it."
And a toupee.
Well, no, we didn't. Yeah, I'm more behind the camera talent. I'm just saying. I have a face for radio and a voice for comic books. But anyways, somebody will get that later and go, wow, that was actually pretty funny.
Where's Joe when you need him?
Right. Where's my buddy Joe?
Exactly.
All right. So let's do this. Let's go. Okay. So we've done, by way of introduction, by the way, if you guys don't know me, my name's Ira. I run Bowman Digital Media. We help people with their visual communication tools, websites, video, logo, graphics, and SEO kind of stuff. That's what we do. Check us out at Bowman Digital Media if you have any questions about that. So now what I want to do is just go around the room and say, okay, what is, and I've asked this to the audience too, I'll just put it up, but this is the question for everybody that we're going to talk about. What is the biggest change you've seen in business due to COVID-19? And you don't have to limit it to your area of expertise, but you can if you'd like. But let's just go around the horn. We'll go ladies first. So Liz, if you want to kick us off, I know my health is nowhere near as good because I was going to the gym 4 or 5 days a week before COVID-19, and I have not been able to go to the gym since March.
Yeah,
So,
there's been a massive split. So people have either got more active and done more, or people that were active have stopped. So you've seen, whereas before you had much more of that middle ground, there's definitely been a split in behaviors. So people that won't do it or can't do it, or they kind of gone, it's okay, I'll do it later. From a professional point of view, you see there are some trainers who have just adapted and gone, let's get in the park, let's do, what we can, and have just been desperate for the gyms to be open. Some that have suddenly gone online, a lot of increase. So people have tried to be dynamic, but you can see there's some have done quite successfully. And obviously some are still sort of working on it. And, or of course, they've got so much in business clients that they need those gyms open. So, of course, now the UK, England, we're back in a national lockdown. So the gyms are closed, trainers are obviously hit, things like you rent the space, these sorts of things are obviously business considerations. Of course, they operate like you get the large gym chains that operate, their income requires personal trainers as well, not just the memberships.
Yeah, I would love to talk about that too, guys. Maybe Adam, this is a great question for you. I have noticed it mostly with restaurants, but also with large retail outlets too. It seems like a lot of them are closed. In California, we haven't been able to eat inside a restaurant since March. That's when they locked us down, and we haven't opened at all since in my area. Now, I know that my area is one of the worst. I think we were ranked 11th worst county for COVID cases in Riverside. I think through July, maybe it was through August. But anyways, so I don't know if that's current. But we never reopened. Or everybody's talking about going back into lockdown. I'm like, we've been in lockdown. So that's got to have an effect. Obviously, reduced revenues, and people still have their expenses that they have to pay. How many companies are not going to come back? And, what kind of businesses are going to be the ones that seems like the ones that could kind of shift gears and do things virtually are the ones that are going to have the advantage coming back out. But I think a lot of mom and pop shops, one-off locations are going to be just gone, unfortunately. But we can talk about that later. Mr. Damon will go age before beauty, or respect our elders, or something like that.
Well, I have that without a doubt. Which one are we talking about?
So we're talking about what's the biggest change you've
I
noticed?
was thinking age or beauty.
Oh, I'll just be nice and say sure.
All right. Well, the thing that I see is that as bad as it is with a lot of businesses, there's a whole sector that's really going crazy. I mean, if you're in the grocery industry, if you're in the e-commerce industry and you're selling anything that is related to home improvement, that is related to things like exercise equipment, or even just general supplies, that's insane. And manufacturers then too behind that are very busy. Yeah. And and the government sector is still strong, and they're buying. I've got a couple friends that are running businesses in that they produce things for the government, And we sold a government contracting business that had a product they sell the government just recently. Delivery, there's a lot of businesses that are really doing okay during this. All of them affected, obviously. The remote work is real for everyone. That's not going to change either, because when you look at a place like many of us live in here in Seattle, if I'm going to trade an hour and a half each way commute, and I know you had a worse one there, Iro, before, but if I can trade that out to go do that once a week or twice a week instead of 5 days a week, and remote work is working, I think people are going to keep doing that. I think businesses are going to, because you look at a small, large employer, it doesn't really matter. If you can drop your commercial square footage by 30% or something like crazy like that, that can be, you look at some of these big players here in Seattle, like an Amazon, you could drop, $100 million, $500 million. I don't know what the heck. It's a lot of zeros, and then you get a quality of life for people. That's what I see. But business, as far as buying and selling businesses, that market's strong. People still want it. There's a lot of people in the market and people selling. So, yeah.
We're looking up Kelly's nose.
Nice.
Oh, hi.
I didn't know.
I'm messing around.
I didn't know.
I agree with that. Actually, I'm glad, Kelly, you're on, because the part that was missing was the hiring part. So I don't know if you've been able to catch any of that. She's been attending a women's conference today in Philadelphia. So anyways, I'm going to come back to what you said too, because what you said, Damon, affected me personally. I lost a job, but I also started a new business.
Yeah.
And so for me, 2020, COVID has been a blessing. It was scary. It was a big disruptor, and I had to make a decision. I took a weekend basically to make a decision. Do I open a business or do I go job hunting? And I decided to open the business. So that's going to obviously carry forward for the rest of my life. I'm not going backwards. I'm only moving forwards. Mm-hmm. So however many businesses I talked about maybe that are shuttering, I would be willing to bet there's even more that are actually opening because they're smaller businesses. Now, the net effect is probably still the opposite way, because the larger companies are the ones that are laying off and closing. But the fact is, Bowman Digital Media would not exist if it wasn't for COVID-19. And everybody that I help at Bowman Digital Media, for the most part, are small and medium business owners. And a lot of them have a similar story to mine, in the fact that they didn't go into 2020 planning on opening a business, but because of layoffs, and they were in the middle of a job search, and they just basically threw up their heads and said, "Who's going to hire me now?" And said, "I just got to figure out what I'm doing on my own." Adam is doing fractional, CFO work. Ron Higgs is one of our friends that we all pretty much know, I think. He's doing fractional COO work. A lot of people like us are doing what we do fractionally. So I do want to talk about fractional work. But before we do that, we'll introduce our newest member, Kelly Robinson, to the panel. We actually kind of talked about you already, Kelly. I did the come on. And,
come on, while you're dancing.
So we were talking about you. But Kelly runs Pana Knows. Pana is Polly for wisdom. Okay, so I got that out of the way. She is a talent acquisition management company. So they not only help bring in the talent when you're looking for people, but they also help manage them, keep them happy, because it's easier to keep good employees than it is to find new ones. So that's what they do. But Kelly, just in 60 seconds or so, just kind of give us a synopsis of who you are, what you do, so that the audience, if they're not familiar with you, will then know where you're coming from.
Yep, sure. So I founded my business, Pana Knows, last year. It's a talent attraction and retention company. And so what we do is we build processes and strategies for companies to bring in talent, to make sure they select the right talent, and then make sure that they can retain them as well.
And she's a huge Philadelphia, like all the sports teams. So she's an Eagles fan.
Mm-hmm. We're rough. We're a little rough here in Philly.
Our team played their team 40 years ago in the Super Bowl.
Thanks.
Just so you know, we won. Yay!
He told my son that this morning in video.
I had to throw this on to her son. He said, "Do it." Nick could do this too, because he's got one. He's got one right there. He won't throw it on yet, but Nick's all about the Rodriguez.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got Jamarcus Russell behind him. He's claiming that's Russell Wilson, but we all know number 3 is Jamarcus Russell. Anyways, okay, so everybody went, right? Everybody, yeah.
Introduced themselves, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, Nick, let's go to you. Facilities. What's the biggest change yet you've noticed with facilities? Or it doesn't have to be facilities; it could be anything. Just COVID-19.
It's been interesting because adding partitions to desks, spacing workstations 6 feet apart,
workflow changes.
Yeah. Adding social distancing stickers everywhere,
that's how I was making my living at ARC before I got furloughed.
Working with the HVAC systems to get proper ventilation going through. And the hard part about all that is the CDC would change it all the time. So constantly trying to keep up with that. Just a company that I used to work for, gave out food, gave out all that. So all that stuff got cut down big time because of the touching and how close you were, changing out utensil dispensers to ones that instead of individual, you get a packet full of all 3 and they come, packaged instead of being unpackaged. All the machines, had sanitizer next to them, spraying everything down, spraying the buildings, the COVID spraying, it just, everything just massively changed on that side, like for facility managers or directors on how you got to take over the building. And then to Damon's point, you have companies like Google and Microsoft who branded their culture at their work, basketball courts, pickleball, ping pong. That was the whole point to go work for them. You had all that there, and there are some people I know who've been working from home because their buildings are pretty much closed down and self-isolation is really getting to them and depressing them because they were brought into a company where it was promoted to be around 1,000 people, to be with all those people, do the lunches, play the basketball, do all that to provide a better culture for them inside the office building. So, this is a really interesting thing because I went through some issues with a little bit of depression working from home because I'm a people person. I've never worked from home before. So that was really hard to adjust to for me. I was brought into a company to work with my team individually, to be there, bring them together as groups, do things together, and trying to do that from a Zoom, very difficult. It was a really hard adjustment, so those are the big things I see from facilities. It's just social distancing. If that's going to continuing to tweak your HVAC systems for ventilation. Filter changes are more common now. It's more once a month than once a quarter. Yeah. And just setting up a building in a totally different way than what you're used to. Is that going to continue? Who knows?
Yeah. The expenses that come with that. I had a good talk to this. Everybody's got a budget, whether it's accurate or not. You've got an operational budget. And when you're talking about doing, maintenance change outs monthly versus quarterly, I could tell you how expensive those PVC or acrylic or whatever you want to call them, those clear plastic, partitions that everybody's installing are not cheap. You're talking somewhere between $10 and $15 a square foot for those, and then you've got to install them, which is labor that you didn't have on the books. And then the filtration systems that you're talking about, the sanitizers. A new business that I know, it's a new category. Really, it's not, but it is. Forensic cleaning has always been a thing, but it has skyrocketed right now, like mega growth in the industry, because people, if they have like a restaurant where you've got an employee who gets COVID, they have to completely close it down until that forensic cleaning team comes in and basically sanitizes the whole thing and certifies that it's okay again, and then you can reopen. Well, those don't come cheap when you have to buy that service, So
I know an 85,000 square foot building, if you're doing the fogger and everything going through it, is going to cost you almost $9,000 a week to spray the whole building once. think about that, and think about a company. My former company, I'll use that as an example, won't name their names, but has 150 properties nationwide, and you're doing that once a week to all of them. That money adds up fast. And that's money that, as Adam would say, was not put into the budget fourth quarter last year.
Right.
So where are you cutting from then?
Right. That's exactly what I'm getting to. So if your revenue's down because your model requires in-person or has always been traditionally in-person stores, restaurants, services like gyms, to tie in Liz and what she was talking about with the trainers and stuff. So your business model includes in-person stuff, and that's down obviously because of limitations. Even the restaurants, when they were open, seating capacity was at least half, sometimes quarter. Right. So you're making less money. To stay open, you've got to implement all these new systems. And where's the money coming from is a huge question. So the ones that can revise their model a little bit somehow to either add new products or services, reduce costs somewhere, or like you're saying, Nick, if they're going to just try and maintain, then they've got to add in all these new things. This workflow process is what we're calling this, changes.
I think Damon was correct, where even though you have these Googles and Microsoft kind of companies, everything, if they have multiple campuses, I think they're going to be shutting down some of them because they realize my former company had their biggest quarter ever during COVID. So think about that. And all the corporate employees, except for a handful of them, were working from home. So it just proved that it could be more efficient and more can be done working from home, even though some of the employees are having issues with it. Some of the other employees love it to death, and they like being at home. So, I mean, I think that's the route you're going to go. You're going to see a lot of stuff.
Getting a haircut right now?
Yeah, it looks like she is.
Get my
What the heck is going on?
Getting a thing.
I'm getting my hair done. You see
that?
You see these roots?
No, wait a
I
minute.
can't figure this out.
Hey, you need to have masks on and be social distance, Kelly.
So your hairstylist is coming to your house.
So
okay, let me ask her. Let me ask her.
But I can tell you something.
Let me ask her a question.
Yes,
I'm sorry. What was your name? Asana. Okay, so is this?
Asana.
This is obviously. I mean, this is
Asana?
real world here, guys. So you don't normally do this at people's houses. I'm presuming you have a salon. Is that right? But you're doing this now to because of COVID. You're doing house calls to keep your living.
Right. Yes, because clients don't feel safe go to salon. And so it's what I do. Yes. And if I'm comfortable to visit a client, I know maybe it's like
she comes in and asks me, "Do you want me to wear?"
You might not want to answer this question, and I'll respect it if you don't. But I'm going to ask you a question that's a little bit personal. Do you know about how much your revenue has gone down, or is it a surprise? Surprise me. Is it up because you're doing this and other people aren't? Maybe.
It's up because I do house calls. Salon takes I get maybe 35%, to be honest.
See, this is
35.
This is why we're doing this show.
I got a question on there since Kelly's doing it. May I? What color is Kelly's roots then? She said that whole thing.
Her roots are the same color as mine.
You guys, actually, when you were talking about sanitizing, I won't say the salon that she works for, but they do an amazing job at sanitizing, and they've always done it. But a lot of salons now have had to spend a lot of money on things like that, and they have to cut their business 50%. So,
but
when you guys were saying that, I was thinking of her salon.
This is what I'm talking about. Okay, so for the people that are used to going to a salon, that now for 8 months or however many months she's been coming to you, when this is over, do you really want to go back to the salon, or do you want to have the convenience of, hey, you're going to just come?
The convenience. I like to be flexible because I like to do other things in my life, So I like that I can be flexible. I work with my clients, and then I do fun stuff afterwards.
This is
I think it goes both ways, Ira. I think even the flexibility for Kelly. You
No,
think
I'm talking about. I'm talking
Yeah,
about
I
for
do have
Kelly.
tons of clients who like
Yeah, I'm talking about
lawyers
for Kelly.
and doctors, so they make money while I'll do here, you know.
Yeah, I mean-
Yeah, I always
Sometimes
have
they
like
cannot
my
do that.
laptop or my phone. I'm always doing
I
something.
know. I'm surprised she's not on her treadmill getting her hair cut, honestly.
I've thought about it.
treadmill, Zoom call, and getting the hair done.
That's Kelly. That's Kelly Robinson. But that's what I'm actually, Joe. That's what I was talking about. Not the fact that the hairstylist would want it. I'm talking about the person. Like
Right.
my number one change, other than I'm the business owner and I've got to do my taxes and all this junk that I don't really want to do. You know what I mean? So
Ask Adam.
there's that stuff, right? But the number one positive change for me is that my commute is now down my stairs.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I never want to go back to working out of an office an hour away because I get so much more time with my family. I eat every lunch and every dinner with my family now. You know what I mean? I'm never late. She doesn't have to call me and go, well, what time you think you're going to be home? Because that was an everyday deal. Like, am I going to be home at 6 or am I going to be home at 8:30? And it was always somewhere in between. So
Quality of life with the family, Ira, did it go better or worse?
no, it's up. It's way up for us. You know, it's way up for us. So that's the thing. There's changes like that. That's what I'm talking about. There's changes that it's good and it's bad. You know, like the operational stuff that Nick was talking about with having to change out the HVACs and there's budgets involved that affects Adam and the people in Adam's world because that wasn't budgeted pre-COVID. Who would budget for something like that because it wasn't normal? Well, now forecasting for 2021, Adam, what would you say? Most people probably are going to use this year as a arrow and forecast budgets for next year based on this year, right? I would presume most people will do that.
Right, because most of the people are going to assume that lockdowns or restrictions on in-person activity and things like that aren't going to go away over at least the first 6 months of 2021.
Right.
And the only data that they have to figure out what that is and what that costs is literally the last 6 months. So that's one piece, and then with everything else going on in the world of elections and things like that, there's all the discussion around what will that what kind of impact that'll have on business and taxes, and do you need to do stuff before the end of 2020 because we know what the tax code is right now.
Right.
But when Congress changes and other things happen in January 2021, do the tax laws change because of all that? So at this point you've got some places running around saying I've got 50 days from now until December 31st to make stuff happen in 2020 because I know what happened. I know that capital gains rates are what they are. If I'm selling assets. And
is that tax code section 179? Is that still $1 million?
No, 179. It's more than I think it's a $2.5 million.
It's $2.5 million. Yeah. So
Yeah.
for those of you that aren't familiar with that, what that is you can do capital equipment purchases and write the whole amount up to whatever that limit is off without doing a depreciation. You can do 100% depreciation basically this year in lieu of paying taxes. So
right. Well, and there's bonus depreciation. There's a lot of those pieces out there. And then one of the things for people that actually own real estate is actually doing a segregation study. So instead of just saying, "Oh, I've got a $10 million building," going back to like Nick's
facility
former employer and stuff like that. Well, inside that $10 million building, there's a parking lot, there's landscaping, there's desks, there's fixtures, there's lighting, there's all sorts of things that technically you can depreciate faster than that building that you have to take 39 years to depreciate over. And so by splitting all that out, you can save tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars because you depreciate it now instead of having to, get 2.5% for the next 39 years out of it.
Liz, this one's for you. Meals are more nutritious since I can make dinner while I'm multitasking, less expense across the board. Even the federal government has learned remote work offers a savings. I can attest in our house that we were eating out before like 2 or 3 times a week between fast food and an actual sit down. And now I can't tell you the last time. It's been at least a month since we went and got like Taco Bell or Burger King or something. So we are eating healthier because my wife cooks, and when she cooks, typically there's a vegetable, and she's not putting in extra salt and sugar and butter, and we've always had that. She does cook healthy. She actually is losing weight right now because she's also on a low carb diet, and she's eating more meat, like keto or whatever it's called. That's what she's doing. I am not doing that. I should, but I'm not. Anyways, so she's losing weight. I'm gaining it. It is what it is. But we are eating healthier. I just, eat seconds.
Hey, Joe, are you sleeping?
Me? No, I'm actually answering Ron Craig.
Perfect.
I was answering Ron Craig. He goes like this, hi all. And he goes, wait, Kelly, are you getting your hair cut? I said, hi, Ron. And yes, she is.
She really is.
So
it's awesome.
I'm sorry, I wouldn't be falling asleep on this. I mean,
Kelly
This is real world stuff.
But yeah, Kelly and her hairdresser actually just emphasized the point. This is something that you wouldn't normally see people do in 2020, get their hair cut at home.
Yeah.
You go to a salon because
I do.
That hair
all the time. I'm a hairdresser. Yeah.
So the haircuts are usually, over $100, and especially when you start adding in the highlights and all this different stuff that people do. And, so typically you go and you get pampered at the salon, but now
she's been pampered at home.
Pampered with convenience at home.
Right.
Don't spend gas.
Yeah, Kelly's gonna have to tip her maybe a little bit more.
Well, and then the hairdresser confirmed something that I actually, it's still blows me away, but it's awesome. Her revenue as a hairdresser is up because she's doing home calls that she wouldn't normally do. So I think that that's something that people, not everybody, there are people like Nick, they're introverts. I'm sorry, extroverts. I'm an introvert. I love being alone, man. You can leave me alone for 2 years. It wouldn't bother me at all. But, there are people who like to be around people every day. And so those people, this is what I say. There are going to be people who want to return as close to the old normal as they can. And I don't want to oversimplify this and say the extroverts are going to want to do that and the introverts, because that's probably not true. There is a thing called social introvert, by the way. So there are people who are kind of like me, but they still want to be around people from time to time.
I think, Ira, a big part of that, especially with me, I think it's if you like what you do. If you really enjoy what you do, working from home is not going to be bad. But if you're not enjoying what you do, I think it makes it even worse. And so I think that's going to have a big part to play with it. And then I had a question for Damon.
I have a question.
Adam brought up some good stuff. When you're talking with your businesses on, getting ready to sell or anything, are we talking about the additional money that has to go into that budget for next year if you're riding with them for that year to develop all these systems and get everything up to increase the value? How's those conversations going?
You just as Adam said, you're baking it into the cost next year as an additional cost operation. I mean, whether it's we got people that are driving some instead of flying. We've got the normal things that you see in the partitions and other things. But then when you think about some of our clients with a lot of staff and they're moving them all over the United States, or where they have in the oil fields too, is one of the big things that happens is, you could put a normal living space. I could put X amount of people in there. Well, now they don't put that many people in there because they might go down to, when it was really bad, they were going down to one person, one apartment kind of thing. That was a huge cost. And, so it's affecting everything that way. A lot of our clients have gone completely remote. That was all office staff completely remote. And that seems to be working pretty good for a lot of them.
And I think it depends where you live too, because a state like where I live, I mean, everything's open. Yeah. Everything's just free flow pretty much. So, and there's very little restrictions. But then you go somewhere like Ira lives and almost everything's shut down. So it really depends where you're at too.
Go ahead,
yes, Joe.
I'm sorry. I'm listening to everything, and then I'm really looking at the aluminum foil on her.
We're all watching Kelly. The reception in this show is off the chart.
Right now, I really think that she does not want UFO brainwaves going.
The star of the show is the hairdresser.
Right. I'm sorry. I just had to go there. It just.
Oh, you're on mute. Just so you know. Hang on
But
a second.
anyways, I was going to actually say something about what Nick said earlier before I got on. When you're talking about all these big companies, because I do know of a big company, and remember all the things I talk about on the show. It has to do with
personal opinions.
Yeah, personal opinions has nothing to do with the SEMA credit. Blah blah blah. But I do know a big company. Never worked for that company. That they came in the middle of the night to sanitize everything. Because one of their employees got COVID, and we're talking about this place is huge. It's like as big as a Walmart.
Yeah.
And they come in and like hazmat gear, everything else to sterilize everything just because that happened and one person got it in the store.
Well, and here's another example. This is something that's different for hotels. The hotel I stayed at when I traveled to Utah had hired 2 people 24 hours. So there was 2 different, there was multiple people, but they had 2 different employees, basically staff members, full time. They were just walking around with sanitizer and working on common areas to sanitize, so that was a couple new positions that basically became part of their just normal operating procedures. So there's a lot of sanitization that's happening for the companies that are still open. I was selling sanitation stands, safety posters. Nick had talked about the decals and stuff on the floors and the walls. I mean, that's all the stuff that I was doing at ARC before I got laid off to make my quota, because my quotas didn't change. We still had a sales figure that I had to hit every month, but what I was selling changed. Yeah. And that pivot, that's the thing that made things different, because like we were selling a lot of promotional and sales materials and exposition and trade show and events and all those things that basically, that if you can remember back to February, that was the first thing to start to go. It was like all the concerts, the sporting events and trade shows and all that stuff started to get canceled. And that's where I knew the economy was in trouble. In fact, I put a post out on LinkedIn that said, this whole economy is going to fall on its face because you can't take away 15 to 20% of the economy and have the rest of it stand, because that's the grease that churns the motor. And I had a lot of people give me flack and call me stupid, basically. Some of them were polite about it, but you know what I mean? I'm like, okay, well, it would have been actually a lot worse, because I didn't know at that point the government was going to do a $3 billion bailout. You know what I mean? Like that was a record bailout. Our CFO will tell you that there's never been a bailout that high, and now they're looking at even doing another one. But if the government hadn't bailed the economy out, everything would have crashed. I mean, everything would have crashed. So
the same in the UK, because we've had massive helping, and we closed everything in March. Everything closed, and obviously everything got cancelled. And of course, the government set up company, small business schemes, furlough schemes to keep employee, all these schemes. And they've now been extended into next year, because otherwise, they want to keep people jobs. But the thing is, they're borrowing all this money, and we've eventually got to pay it back.
I got laid off officially the day that the government stopped subsidizing payroll in June. They stopped, and my job went away. So, I kind of blame being fired by the government. Just kidding. But
I think that's why they extended.
It is what happened. I was furloughed, but then I was.
Well, they extended ours. Ours was supposed to end in October, and they were doing this like phase off scheme and everything. And then what they did is they went, right, we're having a national lockdown, and to put in that national lockdown, they went, we've got to do something. So they began the furlough scheme and putting us all into a national lockdown.
Yeah.
So the help is still there, but again, you go, how long for?
Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, we'll see. That's kind of what this conversation is. It's not a hey, the sky is falling, because as we know, there are new businesses that have emerged. Right. There are some businesses that are thriving, like Kelly, who's getting her hair done. So I just took her off screen because I don't want to embarrass her. She's getting her hair done. Her hairdresser, her money is up. Bowman Digital Media didn't exist. Every penny I make is new revenue, and I actually have replaced the revenue that I was making at ARC. So, I feel good.
I think it's the ebb and flow too, Ira, because there's stores, the stores that are falling off, and I've heard it all the time. You have stores that will shut down, or businesses that will shut down. But at the same time, guess what's happening? You're also having businesses that are opening up.
Emerge.
So it's just the ebb and flow of it all, and how well did somebody prepare going into it, and maybe it wasn't. They're better off getting out of it, and then somebody else coming in and then starting up their own business.
Well, some people are good at reaction, right? So it's like they can pivot faster than others because they're good at change. Some people do not thrive in change. They're like, I need my routine, and as long as I can keep my routine, I'm good. Those people typically are healthy, right, Liz? Because they'll stick to that routine, where the people that are good at the change and pivoting typically are bad at their health. Thank you very much. That's me.
You're holding your body in contempt, Ira. Oh, right. I'm sorry. I was thinking of Liz's post today.
Yeah.
It's
all
true.
about contempt.
But here's the thing, Joe, you work in the retail space with retailers all the time. You've signed up. You've hit your quota every month. You haven't had trouble hitting your quota. I remember one month, it was the first day of the month, you'd already hit your quota.
Right.
For the whole month. So talk to us a little bit about that. So what are you seeing? Are you seeing mostly companies that are making a change and that's why they're signing you up? Or
yeah, I would. It's funny you should mention that. Just even yesterday, I've gotten 2 or 3 other referrals of companies opening up another business. Okay. You know, some of them are, and it's symbiotic a little bit how they all intertwine. But I went to one of my merchant retailers, and this was in Indianapolis. He said, "Hey, did you get my message on Facebook?" "No, I didn't." "What are you talking about?" "I sent you a referral. I sold 140 of our used appliances back there, and this person is opening up his own business up in another city. He wants to use Acima. I send him over to you." I go, "Great." I got back in the car, called the guy up, and yes, he's opening up his own business. And then at that time, he goes, "Yeah, and I was talking to my cousin about this. He wants to open up something too. He wants to use you." So, and the reason
I use you, but this in a different way.
Right. It's just all, it's just because that furniture retailer did not want to sell the appliances, he sold to somebody else. They're deciding to open up their own business. I got another call from someone I've known for years, and she called me out of the blue. I didn't remember her. My number was in her cell phone. And she told me she's opening up a mattress store in Memphis. So as much as people close down, there are other places that are going to open up. It's just, you know, I've
heard the statistics. It's hundreds of thousands. I think it's something along the lines of, now this is off the top of my head, so don't hold my feet to the fire, but there was something like 750,000 businesses that have officially closed in the United States since the start of COVID. But there has been millions of companies or new businesses that have opened.
Yeah. And that's the other thing.
The size discrepancy is not 1-to-1, because I'm going to guess that a lot of those 750,000 businesses were more than solopreneurs or entrepreneurs or bootstraps. And I'm going to guess that a bulk of the millions that have been open like mine are bootstrapping, but that doesn't mean that we're all going to fail.
Right.
Some of us are going to succeed. So,
but a lot of the retailers, Ira, they're changing the way they're thinking now. Yeah. They're going to, and you already know this because I talked about it, and you know me and Damon. They're changing the way they're doing business. They're not doing business as a brick and mortar as much anymore. They're just going to e-commerce.
Yeah, this is one of the things that we're helping people with right now at Exit Your Way. For businesses that are out there that have been traditionally brick and mortar, that need to step up their e-commerce game in a serious way, and they don't want to experiment. They don't want to try it and hope it works. They need something that's tested and true. They're adding our service, a la carte service of e-commerce, and we're bringing it in and getting the website set up, getting all the back of the house, everything so it works. The supply chain, you've got to integrate everything.
Right.
You have to have a front-facing portal that the clients can engage with, but then in the back end, everything has to correlate, just like a cog. Yep. And so when you don't have the time or the development skills to do it yourself, You hire somebody like Exit Your Way, and we come in and we do the implementation for you. Our team, that's the power of Exit Your Way. So we see it for sure. We see it, and that's one of the biggest growth areas for Exit Your Way this year. It's people that implement e-commerce.
And a lot of the new ones that I've signed up, it has transitioned over to the e-commerce model.
Yeah.
It just has, and you'd be amazed how many sales just go through e-commerce now.
Look,
myself, Damon and I had the conversation. Remember when we talked about Amazon, Damon?
Yep.
I mean, my wife is getting sick and tired that every day there's boxes at now, to be fair, my kids' birthdays are all in November, so I'm buying stuff for them.
Yeah.
But
so after Joe-tober's over, you go broke.
Yeah, Joe-tober's done. I just don't decide. I don't want to do anything. I went broke for me. Now I got to pay for my kids.
Have you seen that Batman outfit? Crazy.
That was an awesome outfit.
But look, I mean, just me. Okay, so the last 3 things I bought today, I bought them sitting right here online. Before February, I would have never done that because I'm the guy traditionally that I like to touch stuff and make sure it's not made cheap. I don't buy just off price tag. I like to buy for value. So I don't care about the name brand, but I do want to inspect the quality of the work. And so for me, it's been a mental adjustment. But like today, I bought a lapel mic. I bought a teleprompter. I know those are interesting things to buy, but that's honestly what I bought. And then I bought a new RGB light because you guys might have noticed my head's a little hot, bright in my videos, and I need to bring back the color because my head, now it is bald, but it is not actually white like you see with the lights. It's the same color as the rest of my head. So anyways, these are things that, again, I would have not purchased before online. I would have went to, Best Buy or wherever and
touch and felt and made sure that you were bought into it. And
in fact, that's one of the reasons what made me switch, because when I opened Bowman Digital Media, I needed I call it a supercomputer. It's really a gaming computer, but I needed something with 8 processors and I wanted an 11 core. And so I knew what I wanted, but I wanted to go buy it. I drove down to San Diego to Fry's Electronics. They didn't have any computers. I can't believe it, but Fry's Electronics didn't have a single CPU on the shelf because they were worried, I guess, about rioting, right? Looting. So they emptied their stores. So Best Buy couldn't find one. I called all over town after I drove 90 miles there, 90 miles back, right? It was a pain in the butt. Didn't come home. So then I had to buy a computer. Then I bought it through Dell. Dell made it and shipped it to me. It took 6 freaking weeks to get my computer. I was so irritated. But that's kind of where the first major purchase where I learned, like, okay, I'm going to have to change the way I do things. Then I ordered my camera. I got my Canon EOS 90D sitting over there, $1,500 I spent on the package. I had to wait 3 weeks for that to show up. You know what I mean? And you kind of get used to it. But now when you're buying stuff, what I've noticed is the delivery times are a lot faster because I think that they have done what we're talking about in the background. People like Nick Dorsey with the facilities, getting the flow processes improved and people, getting their systems down so that the workflow is more efficient. And then the comfort level with people like me buying stuff and trusting it, that it's not going to disappear off my front porch. Because that's the other fear I've always had. Like, I'm going to spend $1,500 on something and some burglar is going to come, and you see them on the news all the time. You know what I mean? Yeah. Webcam footage. Anyways. So we are coming up on an hour. Let's do this. Let's go around the horn and give one. If you this is no crystal balls, right? So it's just our best guesses. And I'll bring Kelly back on. Kelly, if you can hear me and you want to come on, I'll bring you back on for this final question. What do you think is going to be the takeaway once COVID-19 is done? Let's presume, it's sometime next year, because I agree with Adam. I don't think it's going to stop, and we're entering flu season. So to think this flu is going to go away, or, this virus is going to go away in flu season, I think is crazy. So it's going to probably be into sometime next year after they come out with the vaccine or whatever they're going to do. But what's going to remain, or what's going to be different coming out than going in. Because, like, I don't think people like Kelly's hairdresser are going to go back to full-time doing it only in the salon, because they're going to have at least some clients who are willing to pay extra for that convenience of having her come to them. And like for me, I'll just start. I think that a lot of people are going to work remote. Not everybody, but I think a lot of people are going to work remote. And what you're going to see is, as those leases, this ties in Nick and Adam, as those leases start to come off the books, you know, the buildings that they've leased for 3 years, 10 years, 20 years, however long they've got it for, when those are done, I think you're going to see a lot of companies moving and downsizing into smaller, not completely eliminating their headquarters or their regional facilities, but certainly into smaller, and I hate to use the word essential staff, but that's kind of the term that they've been using. So those employees that are essential to operations that need to be on location will be housed locally, and like sales team and marketing team, and maybe even at some admin functions will be those that can be done remotely, will continue to be done remotely. So that's kind of what I see. Let's just go around the horn. Liz, we'll start with you, and then we'll go Damon, then Nick, then Adam, then Joe.
Other than obviously the change in business and getting rid of real estate and people working from home, and I actually wonder about the death of the city centres. I think that's going to be a mass sort of how the demographics work, which will link to people working from home, because people are moving out the cities.
Yep.
They're going to where they can have more real estate for their money.
100%.
So,
Yep.
like cities like London, obviously, like Seattle, all these cities are going to see a massive sort of death in the city because the expensive real estate.
In the United States, I don't know if it's like this over in Europe. You maybe can speak to this, but we're undergoing a national 5G transformation right now. It's still in process, but as they start to open up 5G in some of these states that are just giant open spaces, right? So basically the West, everything like go from Kansas towards me, there's a lot of empty real estate there. For the longest time, you couldn't get cell phone reception. Really, you can't get, a decent internet connection. If they fix that, because of what you just said, lower real estate, and people, if they are able to work remotely, I think that the demographics of the United States will shift by a lot over the next 20 years.
I mean, you can already see it in London.
Yeah.
It's already happening.
Yep. All right, Damon. That was a good answer, Liz, by the way. Very good.
Thank you.
What's going to happen? Okay.
Yeah, so outside, we're beyond COVID-19 now in this hypothetical. What do you think that change during COVID it'll stick because it's a change that people like?
Yeah, but the remote work's going to be one thing, and I think too the cities are going to have a real reckoning, and not just with the people not being there, but when you think about if there is this mass exodus, as there is already, like our partner Andrew lives in Park City, and you can't buy a house in Park City, Utah, because people are moving out, and I see that. My mother was talking about it even in the Dakotas, that people are moving out of the cities and into the country just because of this. I think that's going to continue on, and it's going to put these businesses in different positions. The people that are adopting e-commerce strategies now, whether it's digital selling or actual e-commerce stores, I don't care either one. I use them interchangeably. They are going to win in this, because the people that are dependent on in-person meetings or talking about that to sell their products or services are not going to be around. They just can't be.
Right.
So
yeah, 100%. You guys are familiar with the term gentrification? So gentrification was happening in downtowns, and basically what that is, if you guys aren't familiar with it, I'll just explain it to the audience. So basically what it implies is that people in low income housing in downtowns, urban areas, have been basically being relocated because business investors have been buying buildings that were traditionally low income and improving them. And then people were moving into downtowns for not only the downtown lifestyle, the bars and the restaurants, but also to be closer to work,
Yeah.
So that, they didn't have to deal with commute, rush hour traffics, and so forth. So if you have a remote workforce where you can work from anywhere, gentrification actually is one of the things that could be immediately improved, because it is something that low income housing is an issue across the United States. And so it's something that cities in California actually get fined for if they don't have a certain amount of low income housing options. If gentrification is resolved as a side perk of this, for a lot of municipalities, that actually is a perk. Now, there's tax ramifications, obviously, which Adam could get into. About, they're not buying these buildings, they're not renovating these buildings. There's a lot of income tax that isn't being generated, so you have other problems. But it's one of these things where there's always a bright side and a downside, right? So less tax revenue, but less gentrification. A good and a bad thing at the same time. Anyways, Mr. Dorsey, the Raider fan.
Yes, the Raider fan.
I got that on video.
Yeah, I know you do. Whatever.
I won't have the whatever in the video.
I think we're all going to be in agreement on the remote work. Feel it's going that way. Big businesses, companies are seeing how much value they could save and how much money they're going to be saving in having employees working from home. I think what that's going to do is, the nice part is, it's going to bring traffic down, especially for, especially like Seattle.
Yeah.
But what it's going to do is, it's probably going to raise gas prices because less people are driving, so less gas is being bought, and it's going to I think it's going to tear down a lot public transportation, so that's going to eliminate a lot of jobs. So there's a plus and a minus to this, so how are cities going to adapt to this? And like Liz said, there are people, and Damon mentioned it, people are just leaving big cities.
Let me take that even another step further, Nick. Mm-hmm. You're married. Do you have 2 cars?
Yes. Might go down to 1.
I'm married. I have 2 cars. Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say.
Yeah.
When my cars need to be replaced, I don't know that we're replacing my car. So right now, because I have 8 kids, everybody knows that, I think, right? So we have a full-size van and we have a little Kia Optima, right? But they're both 7 years old, ready to, start to seriously be replaced. And I don't know that I'm buying 2 vehicles next time.
Or if the gas prices go up, what's going to get bought more is our electric cars.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different ways you can go on this. And since I'm from the Seattle area, cities like Seattle, if people start moving out, Amazon leaves, they're not having that city's going to die. It's going to crash because they depend on those people. 100%. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. So is San Francisco going to be the same way? Is LA going to be the same way? New York City, if all those big businesses tell people, London even, if, hey, you're remote working, now all of a sudden, what, 1 million, 500,000 to 1 million people aren't going to that city every day. What's that going to do to all the small businesses around there for lunches, dinners, all that stuff?
Let me take that to the next level for you, because I run
everything at the next level. Step it up, man.
Well, Project Help You Grow, I run that, right? And I help people find jobs for free.
I think I've heard of it.
It's been around a little bit. Yeah. So Project Help You Grow, one of the things that I've noticed, the number of jobs that are advertised remote have gone up. Mm-hmm. And they are willing to accept foreign workers like never before, because they don't have to pay for visas and sponsorship and all that stuff. So I think the other thing that you're going to start to see in business is going to be more multinational employees from all over.
That depends. The UK, because of Brexit, we've got different laws coming in come January. So our dynamics are changing again, because we're obviously leaving the EU, like officially. So again, that's another spanner in the works for work.
Yeah, it's interesting how all this stuff comes together. You know what I mean? Because there are jobs where you do have to physically be there. So they could have we've talked about this. I've had this conversation. In fact, I had this with Nick yesterday. In a new role, again, Nick is available if you're looking for a director of facilities. Okay, Nick is available. So one of the places he interviewed already, right? The question came up, well, can I do, on-site remote blend? And that's another thing that
was not as common. That will be more common moving forward, whether Nick does it or not, right? Because you'll have places like, okay, well, you need to come in once a week or twice a week because you have these tasks that have to be done physically here. But then the other 2 days or 3 days, you can work, from anywhere. So you're going to have remote staff that has to still be within commute distance. And then you'll have some that are full blown remote where they could be anywhere. And again, every region's different. So, and every company can decide their own too. Like they could just say, well, even though we are willing to hire remote, we still want to be able to do like random drug tests and things like that, where you'd have to come in and facilitate that, or a training. So we still want to have them close, even though technically we could hire from anywhere. We're going to implement this strategy where we're only going to hire people who are within, 100 miles.
I think what we're going to see a lot more of is, like, for example, if we can work for remote, it's going to be like, hey, I'm going to go visit Liz. I'm going to be over in UK, but I can do my work from there. So I am working, but I'm getting a vacation out of it too.
Yeah.
I don't have to use vacation time. You know what I'm saying? So it's almost going to be a win-win. So those companies who offer unlimited PTO, how now does that kick in even more now because of the fact where I can go to Florida, I can go to New York, I can go anywhere, work from there. But then when work's over, I log out. I got all that time, so it's like
you're on vacation, everything that you're not doing at work. And so I'll just tell you, I'm going to tell you a real world example of that. So my kids are off of school the week of Thanksgiving, and my wife's like, we could go visit my parents.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can do Bowman Digital Media anywhere I want.
We did my the podcast you're on for me. You did it. Either I think it was from your in-laws house. Yep,
that's right. I was in that office, and everybody's like, "What is that background, Ira?"
Yep.
All right, Adam, what do you think? So, just to remind everybody, what we're doing is after COVID-19 is done, moving forward, what things do you think are going to stay because they're positive changes that businesses or employees like? And we've covered the obvious stuff already. So now Adam, it's a little bit harder for him.
I actually have two pieces. So one is for people looking for jobs. Before it was, like me, I live in Richmond. Nick lives in Phoenix. We were only going to look in that regional area and say, because I don't want to move. Well, now, since a majority of the work is remote, I can apply for a job. If I was looking for a job, I could apply for a job in Seattle. I could apply for a job in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I could apply for a job, in Houston, Texas, and still work from here because, again, I'm not physically going to that office. So it gives people that are looking a lot bigger amount of jobs to look for. And then the second piece, and, part of this is because I am one, is fractional work.
Yep.
They want that expertise. They want the knowledge base, but my budget is blown because now I had to put up plastic dividers in front of everything. I had to, drop $200,000 on that. So I don't have $200,000 to spend on a CFO. I have 50 now. Oh, perfect. Here's a fractional CFO that
25% of the time.
Yeah. And you still get all that, you get the expertise, you get the knowledge, and, people have been using fractional consultants and outsource work forever.
Yep.
In a lot of categories.
100%.
Now it's going
to print businesses run that way, almost exclusively. So there's two ways the print business does fractional stuff that even though they don't call it fractional. A, they outsource a ton of stuff. So, you as a client are ordering banners, business cards, and a vehicle wrap. Well, my print shop probably only produces one of those. We buy the other two from vendors, but we facilitate everything for you. The other thing is what we call handwork. So a lot of companies will have hand finishing and labor that's done by hand. We do it by the project. We get a project in, maybe it's a week, maybe it's 2 weeks. We were going to call your temp agencies and go, we need 13 people for the next 2 weeks. They come, they work for us for that project, and then they go away. And that's how this is. It's the same idea. It's like, okay, instead of having somebody that's full-time Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, I'm going to pay all the benefits and everything else that goes with a full-time employee. Now I'm just going to pay somebody as I need them, whether that's, an hour a week or whether that's, 25% of the time or whatever it is. You guys come up with that, but you're being paid. Now, The fractional work requires you open a business like Bowman Digital Media, and then you get a client like Exit Your Way. I don't know why I'm bringing all these out, but you know what I mean. They're just coming to me. It's just like random off the top of my head, and they say, "I want to work for you like 25% of the time." Okay, and then you come up with a payment. You know, it's a quote that you both agree on, and then you do business. They don't have to pay any employment taxes because I'm not officially an employee, but they get the benefit of me on their team, and I get the freedom to go do other things to make more money on top of that. So there's a lot of advantage to fractional work. If you're curious about it, I did write an article, a full-blown article on Project Help You Grow, and I think I actually wrote another one that's very similar on LinkedIn. You can go to my LinkedIn articles and find it, so either place. But it's something I think, Adam, that a lot of people aren't talking about, for at least as employees, because they're looking for traditional roles. But if they would just change that limitation in their mind and going, it's kind of like the equivalent of having 2 or 3 part-time jobs. But if you can come to the realization of that, you actually can make more money and have more freedom. Like I said, when I was working for ARC, to Nick's point about PTO, I would have had to take a week's worth of PTO, which I only had 1 week of PTO for the whole year. So that would have blown my whole year's PTO budget. But, you know, as the owner of Bowman Digital Media and as a fractional employee, as long as I can fulfill my role, Exit Your Way, which I can from anywhere, I can go and do whatever I want. And then to Nick's point, again, you're at the beach. So it's Monday at 5:01. Guess what? I get to turn the computer off, and now I'm at the beach with my family. And they can be at the beach the whole time, even when I'm working. You know what I mean? And that's
You can be at the beach working.
well, I could be technically, but I wouldn't be, so I wouldn't because I'd be distracted. I love the ocean. But anyways, all right.
And his forehead would burn too.
Probably.
Yeah. Is that personal experience, Adam?
Joseph Stepke. He's our finance guy. This is the guy that helps bring non-credit needed payment options to retailers to help them increase their sales. And I think it's fascinating. It doesn't cost the retailer anything.
Nope. Doesn't cost them a darn thing.
Kind of like a no-brainer. Just people need to know about it.
Anyways, we're just another payment option to bring customers in.
Yeah. So what do you got? What do you think?
Well, I would say right after this, and I think for myself, once COVID is done, and I'll go back to something that Alon or Oak, said today.
Oak is a good way to say it.
Right, Oak is a good way, and I love the recipe. But one of the things, it's going back out there and establishing the connections. We all could work remotely.
Yep.
And I think there's a lot of
emotional
people
relevance
that are going to still do the remote work. I enjoy it because I do it a little bit more, and you could still get the connection with people.
Yeah.
Just from that, as we, the 6 of us on here, and 7 with Kelly getting her hair done.
Yeah, we're looking at her lap. I'm looking at her lap in the green room. So
but
hey, Kelly, I'm gonna pull you up. Show us that again. Okay, this is Kelly right now. She looks up to me.
All right.
She smiles like she's got.
Oh my God! I want to play that Weird Al Yankovic song, "Aluminum Foil."
She's going straight for the moon.
Ira, you're making a meme, aren't you?
This on your
Liz, you better be recording or something on this one to make
this is going to be a gift tomorrow afternoon.
Oh my God! I want it.
This won't even take till tomorrow. Hey, Kelly.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you heard what we're doing is we're answering this question moving forward.
Nick, stop laughing at me.
It's hard to take you seriously.
I'm laughing with you, not at you, Kelly.
Right, I can
I think Liz is laughing at you.
I'm laughing at her. You got to be the greatest.
Because Liz knows what this is.
Liz,
like. She's thinking
Liz is dying over there,
like
which
body.
is amazing. I love Liz. Liz, you need to come on my podcast or something. We need to have a one-on-one.
Oh, yeah. I'll be there.
So, Kelly,
Yeah.
the question is moving forward. You do talent acquisition and management. So hiring, the whole hiring sphere. What do you think is going to be different moving beyond COVID-19? What are we going to keep? It changed during COVID, and we're going to keep it.
Well, you guys already hit on a lot of the things around the workforce, but here's what I'll say. I think we're going to see a lot more innovation and a push on technology, because people are going to now have options and choice. And thanks, Joe. I know what you're doing. Here, Joe. I'll give you a good one.
It's Damon.
Here,
Damon.
you gotta get Oksana in there. There you go. But
Thank
I think,
you. Got it.
my
I'll
God,
make the gift myself.
I also think people are now going to be a little bit more open-minded, where before people were very black and white with things. And they were pushed to be open-minded. And I think they've seen that this has actually been a really good thing for a lot of people.
I was pushed into opening my business, and I love it. I didn't.
Yeah,
love it.
but
I
going
didn't love it at
back,
the
you
time.
wanted to do that anyways, Ira.
My wife did not like it. Trust me.
But you wanted to do it, and it was. I say that being on the call when you got that.
Joe was on the phone when I got furloughed,
and it was
a shock.
As much as you were upset, it was almost. You were, but you weren't.
She pulled herself from the show. Hey, Kelly, can you just say, Ira, you're right?
No, not in this, because you will absolutely do
Ira,
this
you're
on
right. Just one time. All I need. Dang. I would definitely do that.
I know. I get a gift.
I think I just got her to snort though, so I got that. Again. This is why I don't have very many friends. I'm just saying. Okay. So I want to talk about this too. One thing that when you're, and Alon was talking about this alone. Sorry, I've got to learn how to reset. But okay, so he was talking about emotional relevance. And if you don't know Alon Zybert, you really need to get in touch with that guy on LinkedIn. He's awesome. He's Israeli born. He's in Atlanta. He helps organizations with sales development and increasing sales. He's a smart guy. But what he was talking about is something that I know too. So I would just want to talk about this real quick, and then you guys can do some wrap ups if you'd like, or you can talk about this point. But when the workforce goes remote, mostly remote as it has, and you're meeting not only with your workforce, but also then you're engaging with your clients and you're engaging with your vendors, and everything's online, it's a lot harder to develop rapport. And one of the reasons why I tease people relentlessly like I do is because I want them to know that I really do like you. You know what I mean? Like, you want to have a connection. You want to build an emotional connection. And Alon has this expression that he's trademarked or registered, one or the other. It's called emotional relevance. Like, that's his term. And he did an exercise in the show for MyVab earlier today. It was like we had a meeting, a networking event, and he asked somebody he had never met before, okay, just based on what you know about me so far, how much do you trust me from 1 to 10? And the guy said it was like a 5. And then Alon started to share a story about his daughter in volleyball. And right in the middle of the story, he stops. And I think the guy's name was Jeremy. And he goes,
Jared. It was Jared.
He goes, Jerry, what do you think now? 1 to 10. And he goes, you know what? It's bumped up a point or 2. Why? Because of that personal connection. And the whole reason I bring that up is because if you're going to do remote, then you have to really work on building that rapport with your team. You know, this is one of the things that Nick struggled with, honestly, right? The remote stuff. It's like you're used to being in person with people and you get that vibe. Nick is a huge people person, and it's a little bit different when you're managing your team remotely. So you got to work on that. But I want to drive this home to sales too, because I don't think people think about this. When you have a Google ad or a paid advertisement and someone goes to your website, they don't know you, but they've found you. They don't trust you in the same way as if you're referred to them or they visit you because they've been following you and engaging with you on social media, and now they come. And I can actually quantify it. 75% more likely to do business with you if they know you and trust you before they come to your website. So before they click on that Google ad, before they do a Google search and say, non-finance needed payment option, and Joe, the finance guy, comes up and they click on your website, they're 75% more likely to sign up with Joe or any of us if they were following us on LinkedIn and there's some banter, there's some type of trust established.
Right.
So when you're doing these online things for everybody, one of the things that I think you're going to see is we're going to be more personal in our virtual meetings than we would ever before. For example, I have 8 kids. They're noisy as all can get out. And in the past, I would be out there like laying down like I'm a sergeant in the military, saying, if I hear any noise, I'm going to have to come down on you and you're going to be grounded and blah, 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 blah. I haven't had to say that in a while. Why? Because if my kids make a noise, it's not the end of the world. You know I'm at home.
Right.
And life is real. And that actually, I've had it a couple times. I was doing a meeting. I was about to do a meeting with Erica Warfield. And my little daughter comes and she just sits on my lap. She does it every once in a while. I love working from home. So she's 6 years old. She comes and she sits on my lap, and Erica's just like sitting there and there for like 5 minutes having a conversation. And then finally we had to tell my little girl, like, okay, you got to go. Because we're gonna actually have a meeting. You know what I mean? But that kind of stuff is one of the major differences with moving forward. As we're more and more remote, you're going to see more like reaching out and these emotional bonding, building type things. You're going to laugh at people getting their hair done as they're getting their hair done. I don't know if that'll become common.
You saw me get
Liz, look at Liz. Look
I
at
think
Liz.
the head's getting bigger. I think your head's getting
So when you're doing your sales reaches, you're going to try to build a relationship. You're going to try to do the more personal stuff as opposed to the canned stuff, because the canned stuff is going to get ignored.
Yeah.
I think.
And
That's my wrap up. I'm going to go around the horn one more time and let you guys do your wrap ups. Advice, strategies, or takeaways, maybe 30 to 60 seconds each. And Liz, we'll start with you.
Oh, all about the fitness. Stay fit. That's it. It's that simple. 20 minutes a day, and because it's better to be fit now than to try and fix it later. Easy.
Concur.
That's easy. And is it mostly diet or is it mostly get out of your chair?
It's obviously a lot of diet, but if you're eating and cooking proper meals and avoiding the snacking, because the snacking is a big killer, you need to get out and active. You need to get moving. So if you're at your computer,
You mean I shouldn't have this in arm's reach? I don't. That was totally Liz and I planned that ahead of time. That was
but at least once every hour, you should be getting up from your feet.
Yeah.
And moving.
I do have water here.
You've not drunk any.
Right.
Water.
It's not water, it's vodka.
It's late. It's okay.
It's only 1:30 here, so anyways. All right.
5 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah.
It's 9:30 here.
There you go. All right, Damon.
Well, I think, you have to start with a good foundation. And I always like to do that with the right team. You should be supporting the right team.
Absolutely.
That's what I say.
When you watch this video back later, it'll be the right team. You just happen to know a guy.
No, I think you're right though with business is getting the human interaction now, whether we like it or not. As you said, kids, dogs, working from home, there's a lot of difference in it, and it's a good thing. Me being the age I am, I was one of them that was conditioned to, you don't bring that into the workplace, and now we have to. Yeah, and I think it's a good thing. So
100%.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Dorsey.
I think the Seahawks Foundation is a good place to start, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Didn't they just lose? They did.
They did.
I think the last time I talked to you about the Seahawks on video, they lost too. So maybe.
Yeah, they did. They lost 2 games. 2 games.
And I've talked to you on video both times. It's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Dorsey, Jamarcus Bustle. We took that guy number 1, and he didn't do nothing but sign a check. That's all he did.
He made like $75 million and did nothing. So good for him. Yeah. I mean, that was fantastic.
I was there the day they brought him in. His first NFL action was in Oakland against the Denver Broncos, and they brought him in, and I was just like, okay, here we go.
Yep. And there you went.
He stunk it up. Yep. He could throw it 70 yards from his knees, but he couldn't throw it 3 feet and get a completion.
Yep.
Anyways. Are you guys talking
inside of a barn?
We're talking about hockey.
Hockey. Gotcha. All right. I watch it sometimes. I think they call it Wimbledon. I watch it. It's a good thing. I'm right there. I'm taking
the Avengers.
Yeah, right. Against the Avengers. No, they
What
don't.
did Liz
I
call?
don't
What did Liz call fencing? Pop
Fencing.
quiz. She didn't call it fencing.
sword fighting?
She called it something else. Sabers.
Oh
Got it.
no, fencing.
Oh,
Swords. There's 3 types of swords. I do saber, epee, or foil. And I did saber.
I don't know any of that, but I did remember
And the
what
fencing
saber-
that I know has nothing to do with swords. It's usually a gun. It has something to do with a gun in a pawn shop, but that's the fencing.
Yeah,
I
you had
know.
lifesavers earlier, so
All right. Here we go. This is how we kill a show. All right.
we did that a while ago. All right.
Did you answer, Nick? I'm sorry. I was being
It's all good. I think Damon's right. Setting the foundation. Trying to understand the world is going to change after this work-wise.
Tell me facility. Give me something facilities. Give me a nugget. So we're gonna keep the social distancing. We're gonna clean our HVAC.
and that's interesting because I don't know. I mean, if we are, then we're going to have people more spaced out. You're going to have the stickers out. We installed stuff on doors at one of the companies that you promote for. I believe MBS is their names. Stepping poles and 4-lift arm openers. We installed a lot of the stuff like that. So a lot of touchless stuff.
And I'm going to tell you, so for MBS, they have a deal with Coke and Pepsi. They work with both. Coke bought those for coolers to open and close coolers. They noticed that they were selling like 25% more beverages in the ones where they had those installed in a given week than the ones they're sitting side by side, same stores. People were choosing to use the ones with the touchless. Well, it wasn't touchless, but you weren't using your hand.
Well, you put your arm in there like this.
You're using your forearm
like
or you're using your foot to open these coolers, and they were selling more. So I think some of that stuff for sure.
We actually we installed them in our restroom doors, so nobody had to touch the handle on the way out.
And then I don't know if you guys remember that, but they had that little pull key tool, but you could basically pull stuff and push stuff with it, and they called it the germ key, is what they called it. But stuff like that on a keychain. So again, you don't have to like touch a touch pad or touch a door. You can push, you can pull, just aluminum cut stuff. So I think there's going to be more of that stuff out there for sure.
I think majority of facility departments, I would say 95+% do involve the janitorial crews. So your way of cleaning and sanitizing is going to change. So that's, just a different way in your policy and procedures that you have to rewrite and everything. And then, sitting down with somebody like Adam, who they do not like facilities people because we always spend money in their eyes. And, and working with him and,
you're an
put that
expense.
budget in,
There's no income. It is all just.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's all about predicting in facilities, predicting what you think is going to happen. And this next year is going to be difficult. I think 2022 is going to be a lot easier because we're going to know the new norm, but coming into 2021, it's going to be a guessing game. It's like an educated guess. You just have to hopefully you guess the right way. I mean, or see what the trends are. And maybe somebody like Adam, do you make a budget all year or do you go for 6 months because of the unknown and then see what the trend is and then develop the next 6 months based off the initial trend?
Well, styles make fights, and budgeting is done by 2 different types of people, usually the conservative and the liberal. So if you're guessing minimalistic, then you're probably going to go 6 months there. And if you're, on the more conservative end, you're going to go worst case scenario. So you're going to plan the whole year, right? Adam? Not to speak for Adam, but
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's there's all of that, and then there's even the having the annual budget, and then literally chopping that up into to get there, quarter 1, quarter 2 are higher expense, lower revenue, quarter 3, quarter 4 the opposite to get to our annual numbers and things like that. So
your models.
Yeah, so there's more blending instead of just being kind of looking at like the normal seasonalization of whatever business you're in. It's the COVID impact on seasonalization. So there's all of that. And then my tip is, as we go into the holiday season and people are buying gift cards, they need to be aware that if that business goes out of business,
You lost your money.
you lost your money. So if you're going to buy gift cards for people as gifts, either personal or business, try to buy some that
Gonna be
Are
a
big companies.
You're gonna buy an Amazon card, not a Red Lobster card.
right. And that hurts a lot of those local businesses because a lot of them are pitching, hey, buy our gift cards so that we get cash in the door so we can stay open.
Yeah.
But that may not be, anything that, truly helps them long term, because if, then those consumers are unhappy. But if the business is gone anyways, they don't really have anyone to complain to.
Yeah.
That was, what was it? The like Sharper Image back in the day when they went upside down and people had all their gift cards and they were worthless because
It's a real thing. Yeah.
So that's my tip as we head into the end of the year, and use the tax code to your advantage as always.
Yeah. And if you need financial help, right? CFO Adam is available fractionally. You don't even have to pay him full time. No benefits. Just, he's got several programs. You do have a website. If you want to put that in the comments, I'll put that up on the screen. He has a website and you can check out the different options that he has. And then Joe Stepke, I actually wrote an article. It was a press release actually for Joe. And it was about
Video game.
retail is being saved right now by e-commerce. So the retail numbers actually don't look all that bad. The question in the article that I could not resolve for the press release was, what about Christmas? Because normally you have all that, it spikes.
Yeah.
And will it spike? Like, for example, my wife and I typically do all our holiday in a year shopping, Christmas shopping, if you will, in December. And we've done half of it already.
Right.
So those numbers are already in the books. You know what I mean? So it'll be interesting to see how retail goes, if it ends up down or if it ends up up, because it could still end up. But anyways, got off
Well,
track.
a lot of the Black Friday deals have already started.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So there's Cyber Monday and Black Friday and Small Business Saturday. Well, all those small businesses aren't open.
Well, and we don't know what's going to happen on Black Friday, where we're going to be. Is it going to be social distancing? Are we going to have the big mobs going into Walmart like we usually would do, or Target? So I think they played it smart, Adam, and doing the Black Friday things early the way they are. Will all these specials still be there? Yeah, they're going to be running. Black Fridays started now all the way till December.
There will be sales because my email box is flooded from everybody.
Same with mine. And
I was looking at, I almost hate to admit this because I don't want to get more crap in I know how this works. But okay, so I was looking at an email for Raiders stuff, like 25% off. And I thought,
so NFL gear needs to
that's pretty good. That's
in an email. Okay.
Yeah, I'm like, that's pretty good. I was thinking about it. I didn't buy anything. And now this week, guess what I'm getting? Same stuff, 65% off. Mm-hmm. And now Ira's like, well, I wonder if I wait some more, if it'll be,
free.
For Raiders, yeah, it's going to go down to like 80 or 90.
Shut up. They're 5-3, bro. They're a playoff team right now.
Do you want right now? I'll tell you my tip for reducing that kind of email in my inbox. Buy everything on my wife's computer.
My wife is standing right there.
It works. It's 100%.
She's shaking her head. Joe said hi. You want to pop your head on?
That's awesome.
Kind of like a booby trap right now. But...
Yeah, pop your head in. And I would tell you, Alicia, your hair looks great.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's almost as short as mine now.
Whatever.
You wish.
He met me with this much hair on my head, and then
I thought it looked great. I showed my wife, and it looks awesome. Your hair looks great.
Like 99 out of 100 people love it.
It's
wonderful.
Whatever. Thank you.
You're welcome, Alicia. All right.
Everybody.
If I had to give a tip or anything, Ira, is if you guys are, if anybody out there is looking to increase their sales through a no credit needed payment option, then get in touch with me, especially with e-commerce, everything the way it's going. It's great to have a checkout system where when the customers don't have to go to a rent-to-own establishment and lease-to-own an item, they could buy from you and they could do it online.
There's a 90-day thing too, right?
Yeah, a 90-day buyout option. Yes.
Yeah. So
just go to joethefinanceguy.com.
That website
sucks. There we go.
I think I've heard of that guy.
That website sucks, man.
He's a really nice guy.
You should get a real website.
I heard he's a big fan of Superman too. So.
Oh no, he's not.
No, the finance guy is all about Superman.
No, he's not.
I can prove it. I got a picture.
Not at all.
All right, so that's pretty much it for the show, guys. Thank you so much. We've been on for an hour and 40 minutes, so a little bit longer than I normally do these, but I think there's been good information. I do just want to recap for anybody who missed it. The world is not obviously done with COVID, but we don't think that the world is going to revert back. Like if you're waiting for stuff to go back to the way it was 2019, I just don't think, and nobody's made an argument for that in the panel. So I don't think that this is going to happen. But I do know this: the more remote we are, the more that the world needs to work on being more personal over the video. So you've got to kind of relearn. I think, Damon, you're the one that talked about that. You used to not let that stuff go over video, and now you got to bring it in. And I 100% agree. Your sales tactics need to address rapport building more than ever. And don't forget your social media. Too many of you guys are out there treating your social media, your business social media now, like a press release. And it needs to change. The style needs to change to more conversational. And one thing I will say is if you're making a post, that's a conversation starter. Don't ignore the comments. Here's a free tip for you. I don't care if it's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, wherever you are. If you make a post and somebody comments, take the time to respond. If you need help with that, that's somebody. And again, this is a change for a lot of you. Hire somebody like Bowman Digital Media, a social media manager, to engage for you. Because you don't want to ignore people. You can build a relationship or you can turn somebody off. I don't know that we've talked about the negative consequences of this, but if you start a conversation and then you abandon it, then people can feel like, okay, well, they don't care about me. I was just another thing Alone was talking about. I said it right. Look at that. Alone was talking about in his presentation on MyVab this morning. He had made a purchase from Adidas. He was logged in, so they know he's a male and he's 6'4" and all this stuff. Anyways, he gets an email from them, and it's for a woman's sports bra. And it turned him off because he's like, well, you should know that I'm a guy. You know what I mean? Why are you sending me a woman's sports bra advertising? So you want to think about that stuff. That's part of like what I was talking about with Damon and I at Exit Your Way and the e-commerce strategies. You want to build in systems so that that doesn't happen, so that your communications, your marketing, your branding, your interactions with your clients are rapport building. Don't tear down a relationship because they just feel like another number at that point, right? It's the Cheers model where everybody knows your name.
I don't know where I heard that one today.
Yeah.
Sounds familiar.
Yep.
But it is what it is. So, the ideas that I espouse are not always originals. They're just ones that I think are true. So there you go. All right. Well, thank you, Liz. Thank you, Damon. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Adam. And thank you, Joseph Stepke.
It was my pleasure. Man. Are we gonna dance out?
We always dance out, bro.
We gotta dance out.
Come on.
Liz is laughing at us because none of us have any style.
I'm lifting up my leg.
We're done.
What about the Cabbage Patch?
The Cabbage Patch. You do the shopping cart shuffle.
You guys, right? You guys know what I'm talking about?